Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Friday. Where do you come to get all your news? You already know, the Washington Informer. Welcome to Let's Talk. I am Micha Green, managing editor, and your host today because our fearless publisher, Denise Rolark Barnes, is out, as I'm calling it, on her press tour, talking to folks about our upcoming gala next Friday, March 28th. Oh my goodness, we are so excited. We hope you got your ticket because we are now sold out. And we are just so elated for everything that we are celebrating. 60 years of the Washington Informer, 8 years of the Black press, and that we are still going, thriving, and ready for another 60 years or more. Um, Today is also the second day of spring, and I got to tell you, I am really excited about this spring weather. I'm rocking my turtleneck today because when I stepped out for a second, that wind was hitting. But I think if you got a good jacket, you all will be all right. And it looks like there'll be some nice weather this weekend. So we are just elated to welcome spring and all of the newness that this season brings. We're also inching really close to peak bloom. And you'll see in this week's Washington Informer, we are really covering all things National Cherry Blossom Festival as we not only await the beautiful peak bloom of the cherry blossoms, but celebrate this wonderful time of year here for the district before it gets way too hot for any of us to want to be outside too long, right? Or way too humid. So we are really, really excited about that. And there's a lot of great National Cherry Blossom Festival programming happening. So make sure you go to nationalcherryblossomfestival.org to check all of those things out. Like I said, we caught up with President and CEO of the National Cherry Blossom Festival last Friday at the Pink Tie Party, Diana Mayhew. And there's so much happening. And one thing that Diana made sure we knew is that it is free. I am really here to be a witness to tell you that we love some free programming here in DC, and the Cherry Blossom Festival is a part of that. So anywho, we have a lot coming up today in this amazing episode of Let's Talk. But before we even get into the nitty gritty of today's episode, I have to tell you to make sure you get this most recent edition of the Washington Informer, which hit newsstands really Wednesday evening, and if not first thing yesterday. It is, as you see, a really great edition, again, highlighting 198 years of the Black press and our Black Press Sunday event at Metropolitan AME. We talked to local legislators about their work to preserve the fiscal year 2025 budget, and them really lobbying with Capitol Hill legislators, despite the fact that they are on recess right now, to make sure that the district's voices are respected and heard. We also talked to people about the new Social Security Fairness Act, which just kicked in, and we have some Washingtonians who share why that is really important. And not only are they getting more money, but also retroactive money that they was not afforded to them because of previous legislation. So that was legislation that was signed under President Biden and went into effect here recently. And then we also talk to people about this major issue that's happening, really not only here in the district, but in the nation, which is that federal government workers are facing really challenging times. It's a lot of uncertainty for those who are still reporting to work every day, and certainly those who have been furloughed are trying to pick up the pieces and see what's next. And so we talk to local legislators as well as job advocates and people here in the district working to make sure that employment is available for Washingtonians and that we're working to address and help those families who've been affected by the federal government's layoffs and furloughs and firings and shifts. There's so much happening. And so, the Washington Informer is following that closely and will keep you up to date and make you aware so that you can tap in to things to not only keep you informed, but also empowered. And so, without further ado, it's time to get into today's show. We have a great show planned today. We first have our Washington Informer, Our House newsletter editor, Zerline Hughes, who'll be talking to Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose, president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And Dr. Johnson Rose is no stranger to us here at Let's Talk in the Washington Informer. So we're looking forward to her conversation with Zerline today. We also have President and CEO of the Greater Washington Urban League, George Lambert, and we're really excited about that as well. Their gala is the same day as ours, and so unfortunately we won't be in the room, but we're doing as much coverage to get this story out beforehand, so we're really excited about that. Guys, excuse my dog. I think she's really excited about all the amazing episodes. And so we'll be talking to President Lambert about the Whitney M. Young Jr. Gala. And then we also have Kimberly Harris, Director of Community Health and Social Impact for CareFirst. And Kimberly is joining us to talk about CareFirst community initiatives. And finally, and certainly last but certainly not least, we have Cherly-Woodruff Brooks, who's here to talk about her book, Chicken Bone Beach. Y'all, my dog is over it. It's time to get into the nitty gritty. Maybe I don't know if y'all can see the shadow of her tail wagging, but y'all will catch her at the end of the episode. Why don't we get into Curtis's video?
This is Win TV News, bringing you the news that matters. The D.C. Attorney General's office has sued the home delivery company GoPuff, accusing it of misclassifying its delivery drivers as independent contractors, violating D.C.'s workers' rights and circumventing costs. GoPuff, which is operated by the Philadelphia-based Go Brands Incorporated, is popular for on-demand home deliveries for items such as tobacco products, snacks, and personal care products. GoPuff has 4 micro-fulfillment centers in the district, 2 in Northeast and 2 in Northwest. The lawsuit accuses the company of failing to pay delivery drivers minimum wage, overtime, and paid sick leave, all of which are required by D.C. law. It is also accused of deliberately avoiding obligations to pay into the district's unemployment insurance and paid family leave programs, as well as failing to maintain workers' compensation coverage. Attorney General Brian Schwalb said in a statement saying, quote, "Businesses operating in the district cannot cut corners and cheat their workers. Though its misclassification scheme, GoPuff is taking advantage of its delivery drivers and also defrauding the district out of critical revenue." Swap DC, in collaboration with Grounded, hosted a plant swap lounge on March 15th, uniting a seasoned plant parents and newcomers alike to trade and recycle their old houseplants while promoting a reconnection with the environment through fellowship, education, and resource distribution. The organizations are working to bridge the gap between nature and urban Black and Brown communities who often lack access to green spaces and face environmental injustices. Held at Grounded, a plant shop, cafe, and wellness studio located in Southeast D.C., the event included seed and plant swaps, pottery painting, and educational discussions on best care practices for home plants and soil. Swap DC founder Samaria Rayford commented saying, quote, "I realize we're overconsuming everything and it's killing our planet slowly. I wanted to do something about that, especially involving more Black and Brown people in the environmental scene." Thousands of young students across D.C. will soon have a new way to stay active as Monumental Sports and Entertainment, the company that owns the Washington Capitals and Wizards, begins handing out 29,000 NBA regulation-sized basketballs to elementary school students. The effort is part of the company's commitment to expanding access to youth sports, according to the Monumental CEO, Ted Leonis. The first 300 basketballs will be delivered on Thursday at Brown Education Campus in Northeast D.C., and deliveries will continue at a rate of about 5 schools per day, with the goal of having every student receive a ball before spring break. With each basketball features the official Washington Wizards logo and team colors.
Thank you so much, Curtis. That was such an informative package, as always. We really appreciate your reporting. And without further ado, let's welcome our House newsletter editor, Zerline Hughes, with National Association of Real Estate Brokers, President Courtney Johnson Rose. Zerline, it's all yours.
Thanks, Micha. And thanks for all that energy. You got me pumped up. So happy Friday, WIN TV watchers, and thanks for tuning in today. I am excited to be speaking with Dr. Rose today. We're on phone calls and we share emails. So a live conversation on housing is like super on time and much welcome. So I'm ready to bring on Dr. Rose.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
Hey there. How are you today, Dr. Rose?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having NAREB and having me as part of today's program. We really appreciate it.
We love having you, so thank you. So where are you joining us from today?
Houston, I'm home today. I'm an H-Towner.
Hey.
I'm a Southern girl, so I'm happy to be home from the great city of Houston.
Excellent. I hope to be there once. I hear the restaurant scene is great there.
Oh, yes.
So I'll be in touch.
Let me know. I'll tell you everywhere to go.
I love it. Will do. So I realized earlier this month that I actually have a friend, Howard Bison, HU, who is a realtist. So shout out to Sharice Callender in Maryland, who we actually may hear from. In upcoming coverage. So happy to know that she is in good company. So we're happy to have you here. It's home buying season and it's Women's History Month. So, another great reason to have you here. I interviewed you for in February for a piece in the Washington Informer's Our House DC newsletter. And I also interviewed several women from the DMV who told me about their experience in buying a home. Some of them who bought when they were 20 or in their 20s, but some who waited until their 40s. And as your organization found, 40s really is kind of the norm for so many reasons. And we'll get to that in a sec. And also, if you guys didn't read the article, please go to the Washington Informer's website, WashingtonInformer.com, and click on Our House DC, and you'll get to see that article. So when it comes to Women's History Month, we weren't even allowed, Black or white women, to purchase a home. We weren't able to purchase a home without a spouse or without, a man as a co-signer. And I think that was until about 1974 with the Equal Opportunity Act, right? That's the case?
That's very true. That's in many of our lifetime.
Absolutely.
And
so we've come a long way.
So we've come a long way.
But based on NAREB's research, like some of us are still waiting or haven't, taken advantage of the new opportunities. So I'd love to know about the research that NAREB has put out, particularly as it relates to the Women in Real Estate white paper where you found women aren't buying. So let me know about that report and why women are waiting.
Yeah, so thank you again for the opportunity. So NAREB produces several reports a year. One is called State of Housing in Black America. We call that the Sheba report. And another report that we do every year is on WIRE, Women Investing in Real Estate. And we really started doing this because our data out of the State of Housing Black America report showed that Black women lead our race when it comes to mortgage applications and home buying. So when we look at everybody that's African American, that's applying for loans, that's trying to purchase a house, Black women lead our race and culture in that. So we're really serious and focused at NAREB about building Black wealth, and through real estate, we have to kind of focus in and hone in on this group of Black women that are aggressively purchasing real estate. So we started to produce the WIRE report. And I do want to mention that you can find copies of this report along with the State of Housing in Black America and all the data that we produce at NAREB.com, NAREB.com, as well as NAREBBlackWealthTour.com. So with that, what we have found that was startling to me is that Black women are buying homes at the average age of 44. So at 44 is the average age that we're purchasing. But our data shows that we're getting into the job market at 24. So what are we doing from 24 to 44? A 20-year span, starting to work professionally, and we're working day to day, 9 to 5. We have income, we have a salary, we have stability at 24. But we're waiting until we're 44 to actually purchase our first home. It's so much wealth that we're losing out of. And I don't know whether we're waiting on tall, dark, and handsome. We waiting on Mr. Right. We waiting on everything to be perfect. Black women, we carry a lot, and we're waiting on everything to line up and be that perfect timing. But when it comes to real estate, the value is in the time. It goes up every single year. Market shows that real estate increases about 5 to 7% every year for the past 100 years in this country. Of course, you'll have up and down markets, but on average, you're getting 5 to 7% a year on equity. And we're wasting 20 years waiting on something better or something exciting to happen to push us to homeownership. So we are really on a campaign through NAREB to reach Black women, particularly professional Black women that are getting out there, that are graduating from college, to say, hey, we got to do this quicker because a lot of wealth is being lost in that process. And I do want to mention something that we have coming up that we're really excited about on April 12th, 2025. We will be in 100 cities on the same day at the same time in 100 markets, April 12th, for the NAREB Black Wealth Tour. We're on tour. And through the assistance of our local chapters, we're in over 100 cities across the country. All of those local chapters are hosting community days from 10 to 3 in their local cities on April the 12th. You go to NAREBBlackWealthTour.com to find the city nearest you. But when you come to that community day, we'll have classes, we'll have workshops, we'll have one-on-ones where you can meet with a lender, you can meet with a housing counseling agent, you can get your credit ran for free and see where you are. We have courses, ABCs of home buying. We have courses investing in real estate. We have what to do with Big Mama's house, on how do you keep property in your family appropriately. So just know we're going across the country with all of these tools and resources because we know how important buying real estate is.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And we will definitely be paying attention to that. And we will probably be back in touch with you in time for our ownership edition, which I think it's in June.
Can't wait. We'll be ready. We'll be ready. We'll be saying the same thing.
There you go.
Yep.
So,
it's time
with the news you just told us about that is in the Wire report, like what would Black women be able to do more of if they had a home, by the time their kids were enrolled in college?
Yes.
Some of us have kids at 20, 25, 30. Our kids, like myself, I was able to buy a home when I was 30, or 29,
yes.
Actually. My kids are now 22, 20 years old. So, we're trying to afford everything. So, I have been able to use my home for a few different ways, just leveraging the home and the equity.
Yes.
So what would be able to do if we bought earlier?
Yeah, you said the perfect word, Zerline, which is leverage. Leverage. What homeownership gives you is a financial tool that is one of the best financial tools that you can have. Every month, when you pay your mortgage, it's like paying yourself, and it's like putting money in the bank. Real estate, again, traditionally up and down markets, but traditionally over 100-year history has gone up every single year. So let's talk about it. Let's say that in the market that they're buying in, the house would have been $300,000 5 years ago, and they would have bought that home in 2020, and now in 2025. The home that they would have bought for $300,000, if we just use 5% equity and increase every year, would be at least worth $375,000, probably more because of compound interest. So now I'm a Black female. I bought the house in 2020. 5 years later, I haven't done anything but pay my mortgage every single month. I haven't done anything spectacular. I haven't flipped the house. I haven't renovated. I've just paid my mortgage every single month, which, by the way, I would have had to pay rent anyway every single month. So I pay my mortgage every single month. That includes my taxes and my insurance. And I just keep that house, maintain that house. I would be $75,000 ahead in terms of equity. Now, let's talk about what I can do with that equity. So in Texas, you can take out up to 80% of that equity. The state of Texas with home equity loans allows you to take that out. So say that I'm working with $60,000. I can start a business. U.S. Black Chamber's stats is that the number one way Black businesses scale in our community is not through bank loans, it's through home equity loans. So how Black businesses scale is by pulling money out of their asset, which is their home, to be able to seed into their business and go to the next level. I have an aging parent. A lot of us are in the sandwich generation. I need to provide care for my mother or my father. Where do I get that money from? It's not in my monthly budget. Wait a minute, I got $75,000 worth of equity. My child is going to college. I don't want to overburden them with student loans, and I'm trying to figure out, how do I make this happen for them? Wait a minute, I got equity. All of these things that we want to do, I'm looking forward to retirement. I'm trying to figure out, how do I get out of here? Look, corporate America is crazy right now. You want to have some options. They start talking to you crazy at work. You want to know, hey, if I say it's time for me to do my own thing, how am I going to do it? I'm not a slave to this job. Wait a minute, I got equity. I got $75,000 worth of equity in my house, so I can do my own thing. So it's just a tool that we can have that gives us options. And equity gives us options. And I can't stress enough, that's not doing anything special, but paying your mortgage every single month. And that's just looking at 5 years. We go 10 years, we at 150,000 plus. And it just keeps on growing and growing and growing.
I appreciate that. I think that's something we really need to drill down because, so often people are like, well, what am I going to buy a house for? It's just more effort, more work. I got to, mow the lawn. But if you talk about it in those long-term financial terms, that's,
yeah. So, and the one thing we cannot stop, Zerline, is time. Time is going to pass no matter what.
There you go.
You might as well let that time work for you. Yes.
So in the report, you talk about some recommendations, the report authors. So I want to know if you could just kind of do a quick snippet on what communities can do to close the gap. And I mean communities at the middle school level, the high school level, the collegiate level. And I know there's also some efforts to work with sororities. So what can we all do to work together to press on?
Yes, I love this. So number one, we have to talk about this. It's not something that we typically talk about at Thanksgiving and at Christmas and at the dinner table. You're not telling your nieces and getting in their business, asking them what they're doing with their money. But it's time for us to talk about it because, again, we're not taking advantage of the opportunity that we have. Zerline just mentioned that we only since 1974 that we even had the rights as women to purchase real estate. So we really need to start talking about it. Two is we have to start educating our young ladies. One of the recommendations in our report shows that the number one reason why Black women don't get qualified for a loan to buy a home when they try is not credit. It's not down payment. We can save, we can keep our credit up. It's debt to income ratio. Now, two things that I want to say with that. Number one is we really need to encourage our young sisters to get into STEM fields. Our report shows that a lot of Black women are in healthcare, they're in home health services, they're in service type jobs. And service type jobs don't pay as much in most circumstances as tech and engineering and some of these other fields. So as things start to cost more, I'm in Houston, the average cost of homes have gone up almost $100,000 over the past 5 years. So as it costs me more in Houston, the average house is $428,000. So I need to make $428,000 just to buy my first home. As a teacher, I can't do that. As a home health care worker, I can't do that. So as stuff costs more, we need to also talk to our young ladies about the career fields that they're in. Secondly, we need to, of course, talk about the importance of it and the timing of it, and be able to really educate that, hey, we don't have to wait to buy our dream house. Even if we buy a duplex, even if we buy a condo, even if we buy a townhome, getting started in the real estate game as young as you can is really how you gain the most wealth. So we really need to, again, start having these conversations, and start pushing us into real estate at a younger age. And then the last thing I'll mention again is debt to income ratio. So it's Black women, we tend to be the matriarchs of our family. And when I do this workshop about WIRE, I have all of the ladies in the room do an exercise of saying no. And we yell it as high and as loud and as forceful as we can, Zerline. We say no.
Absolutely.
Because
no to the phone bill. We're not paying the phone bill or starting
we're not
a
paying
contract.
the phone
right?
bill. We're not co-signing on your apartment. We're not co-signing on your car. Because what we see for Black women is we have the credit. We can save money. We got a down payment. But when you go to the bank, it's the debt to income ratio. I had a client here in Houston. She was a principal of a school, made great money, great career, master's degree, etc. Went to get her approved. No reason why she shouldn't be approved. 750 credit score. Made money, professional. But she had 5 car notes on her credit. She had her car note that she drove every day. She had her son's car note, and he's a young adult. He needs to get a cash car and get off her credit. She had her daughter's car note, who's just going to college, on her credit. She had her mother's car note on her credit because her mother couldn't get one, so she's got it. And then the last one, which was the kicker, she had the ex-husband's car note on her credit because when they got divorced, he didn't have good enough credit to get the car note in his name. So he pays the note every month, but it's on her
name.
credit. So when she goes to the bank to qualify for a house, they say, well, you can't afford a house. And I'm saying, well, how come she can't afford a house? She makes $100,000 a year because she's carrying all these people like Black women tend to do. So we work on the exercise of no, because when you try to elevate and get into home ownership and buy investment properties, all of that debt follows you along with it.
Absolutely. Well, folks, you all can learn a little bit more about everything that Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose is talking about at NAREB.com. That's NAREB.com. We got that 100-city tour that everyone can attend virtually. And thank you, Dr. Rose, for joining us. I appreciate it. And everybody, don't forget to subscribe to Our House DC.
Awesome. Thank you again. I look forward to June.
Absolutely. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
See you next time. And Micha, back to you.
Blessings to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson Rose and Zerline. That was such an inspiring and didactic conversation. I feel like I've learned so much. I'm ready to make sure all my things are in order so that nothing will stop me on my way to home ownership and generational wealth. So thank you so much for you all's time today and for giving us that really wonderful knowledge and news that we can use. Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome President and CEO of the Greater Washington Urban League, George Lambert. Hello, President Lambert. How are you?
I am doing good. Thank you so much for inviting me on to be with you today. Really appreciate it.
Well, I am really thankful, and our entire Washington Informer family is so thankful you could be here with us today. We're so sad that we can't celebrate with you in person next week, as we'll be celebrating our 60th anniversary on the same day. But first of all, we thank you for your support of in celebrating our 60th. And as you know, that we are cheering you all and supporting all of the work that you do, and really look forward to covering the Whitney M. Young Jr. Gala every year. And so while we won't be there in person, we're doing a lot of coverage leading to the 28th. So thank you
Well,
for
know
making.
that we'll be sending out well wishes and spirits with you guys as well. So absolutely.
Thank you. So, President Lambert, before we even get into the 28th, which, if you're anything like me right now, is there even a day after the 28th? But tell us a little bit about the Greater Washington Urban League, which you've been longtime leader of, and the work that you all have been doing.
So thank you again. I have really had the honor of serving as the president and CEO of the Greater Washington Urban League since 2014. So I'm about 11 years or so in at this point. But quite frankly, we're a social service, community-based organization. But at our core, we are really a civil rights organization. And I will tell you, in these unprecedented times, we are doing a lot of things that really speak to our core with regard to who we are.
Yes, and I'm so grateful for your work. As you said, these are certainly unprecedented times, and in years past, I was able to cover the gala in 2017 and 2018 when we were also experiencing a shift, if you will, with now the same president of the nation. And I really appreciated that the gala was not just a great time, but an opportunity to raise funds and a call to action for all of those in attendance. Tell us a little bit about this year and what folks can expect.
I always believe that our gala is quite frankly, the watershed event in Washington, D.C. I mean, it's about folks that perhaps you haven't seen in a while, so your neighbors are there. But we really are there to recognize and honor folks who are really just trailblazers, those who are transformative leaders, those who are really making a difference in our community, and to celebrate them in a way that we refer to as courage under fire. And I got to tell you this, the year that we honored John Lewis, and perhaps you were there that year, John Lewis, quite frankly, was all about courage under fire. And I said to my team after that event, I said, we're going to kind of underline our theme moving forward with courage under fire. So that's what this is about, really recognizing and celebrating those who've just stepped up and bringing it strong in terms of courage under fire.
I love that. And I think that that's a notion we all need to take with us. And, rest in peace to John Lewis. But he's given us some great sayings like good trouble and courage under fire go along the way. Tell us about this year's honorees.
So this year, we are really delighted. I think it's, certainly, as I mentioned earlier, those who have been transformative leaders, those who stepped up. So our presenting sponsor is Giant Food, and everybody knows Giant Food, and we're delighted that Brandy Petway serves on our board of directors. But everything that we do at the Greater Washington Urban League, Giant Food has been a partner right there with us side by side. I mean, I remember, quite frankly, when we were in COVID, they showed up at my office. We opened the parking lot up, and we also had the front of the building, the street side. And they brought folks with them who were actually doing the testing for COVID. And so, they're right there with us. Actually, I think we did a pop-up maybe on 2 or 3 occasions with John. We do a back-to-school festival and health event every year. John, they support us on that. My Young Professionals, which is our Thursday network, we have several families that they have adopted. And so Giant Food supports us on that. So when we were thinking about presenting sponsor honoree, they were the first ones really at the top of that list. We're also recognizing another trailblazer, Maxine Waters. And, everybody knows about Maxine Waters and, how she's one who always has stepped up as well. So we're delighted to recognize her. And then a gentleman by the name of Will Dawkins. But Will Dawkins is actually the general manager of the Wizards. And not enough time now to go into his full story, but clearly someone who was really kind of asked to step up, he did. And the way that he really handled the situation that he was in we're so proud. We'll talk more about that at the gala, and folks will have an opportunity to read about him. So very delighted by him. And then Karim Jean Perry, I'm always pushing to make sure I pronounce her name correctly. She'll be participating in our fireside chat, and so we're delighted about that. But, it's kind of like all of the insight as serving as a press secretary under the Biden administration. And then, of course, we're always pleased to have Laura Coates come with us as well. So Laura will come. She'll be doing the fireside chat, at least hosting that for us. Always bring her very unique perspective and just the way that, she interviews. And so we're excited. I mean, I think it's a great lineup. And then, just a number of folks will be in the room with us as well. So we're excited.
Well, it sounds like a great lineup, President Lambert. I got to admit to you, I'm having a little FOMO, fear of missing out, as I hear this wonderful lineup and the people that you're honoring this year and highlighting this year. Now, I know that the work doesn't end on March 28th. In fact, it's just getting started for the year. We're not quite in the first quarter. Tell us a little bit about what's ahead this year that we can support as Washingtonians and here at the Washington Informer.
Well, you are aware, as I mentioned earlier, man, we do so much in the community service and social service space. But I got to tell you, I'm leaning more now to what we do, what I mentioned earlier about the core of who we are, and that's the civil rights and advocacy side. And so I would start by saying to you, while elections are important, elections, quite frankly, do not change values and mission. And so for the Greater Washington League, that has not changed. But we are very much, focusing on so many of the I will say the initiatives that are repealing many of the hard gains that we have worked hard as an organization and certainly as a community to push hard on. So we're very concerned about those. And many of those repeals are being against DEI. And so let me say this, and I've been trying to make sure that folks understand this. The acronym DEI has been weaponized. So I don't necessarily talk about DEI as much anymore. What I would say, I talk more now about diversity, which is certainly sharing different perspectives and bringing those to the table. I talk about, equity. I talk about inclusion, because everyone, certainly recognize those. 7 out of 10 voters, I would say, have really said that, they have a very positive interest in diversity. And I saw a survey the other day that said 81% of Americans certainly agree that diversity makes sense. And so, it makes sense for business, for companies to certainly reflect what the country looks like as well. So all of those things are very important to us. And so we're pushing hard in that regard. This is quite frankly the time that, I continue to say, this is not the time to silence our voices. This is the time for us to, not be unnerved or anything like that as well, but certainly for us to get in the trenches, stay in the trenches, and to see this mission through. All those things are very important to the work that we do.
And President Lambert, first of all, I can't believe it's already been more than a decade. Congratulations again.
Okay.
Your fearless.
I'm still having fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it's
even in this climate.
But I have to ask you, what keeps you going? What keeps you in the trenches?
We have a very diverse team at the Greater Washington League, and many of them are young. And I say to them that one of the blessings I really feel I have is that the work I do every day, I do my passion, okay? I do my passion. Sometimes a lot of folks go to work and it's a grind and they really don't enjoy it. It's never been that case for me. Coming to work at the Greater Washington League for me is a passion. It's a joy. It's a joy to really serve and to make a difference in the lives of those that we serve and to have an impact in terms of the lives of those that we serve as well.
Well, I am so inspired by your leadership and the work that the Greater Washington Urban League does. We at the Washington Informer plan to continue to keep a pulse on all things. And please, President Lambert, come back and see us. And just know that we'll be celebrating with you next week. Tell folks how to keep in touch with all things GWUL before you go.
Thank you so much. So GWL.com is how you can find us. Go to our website and certainly find more information about the Gale. But also, best to you all. Congratulations again on your 60th anniversary. Best to my very good friend, Denise Rolock. Sorry we can't be with you, but I know it's going to be a great night as well.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we'll be celebrating with you in spirit and be together, reunited next year.
Sounds good. Take care.
Yes, take care.
All righty.
Well, I love Washington, D.C. because there's always something to do, always something fun and inspirational to tap into. And we know that President George Lambert and the Greater Washington Urban League is fearlessly doing that work. And the Washington Informer is fearlessly reporting on the work that's happening. So thank you again, President Lambert. Now we are going to another person and organization that has huge community impact, that the Washington Informer really works to make sure we're keeping up to date on all things that they're doing. And as I've been really working on our 60th special edition, I realized how much health and wellness and the overall well-being of Washingtonians was important to Dr. Calvin W. Rolark, our founder. And so it's so great that the Washington Informer can keep that going with Kimberly Harris, Director of Community and Health and Social Impact at CareFirst. Kimberly, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Well, I know how you're doing. Your energy is phenomenal. And so thank you for the energy that you bring, but thank you for having me and CareFirst here today.
Well, thank you for being with us. And I have to say, I'm really appreciating your spring pink all the way. It is fabulous.
Thank you.
So, first of all, Kimberly, tell us a little bit about CareFirst's key community health and social impact programs. I know that you all have been busy, so just a little bit of a summary of the work that you've been up to.
Yeah, busy in the best way. So, CareFirst BlueCross BlueShield is one of the largest healthcare companies across the region. And our footprint is in DC, Northern Virginia, and Maryland. And so what we really focus on is increasing access to care and also addressing those social drivers of health, which are the non-clinical factors that have an overall impact on your health. And believe it or not, 80% of your overall health is based on those social drivers. So as Dr. Johnson Rose was talking about earlier, health and wealth are, one and the same. So when you're looking at housing and food insecurity and transportation and wealth even, those things have an impact on your overall health. And those are the things that we're tackling every day, and specifically in DC.
And here at the Washington Informer, we often cover the extreme health disparities here in the district, but particularly affecting the Black and Brown communities. Tell us a little bit about some of the work that you're doing to combat disparities and really uplift area residents.
Yeah, one of the things, and it was nice to see George Lambert here. He's one of our partners. The Urban League is one of our partners, but how we do this work is with the community. We are not coming in as CareFirst and trying to fix things without one, understanding the data. What is the issues that we're facing in the district? And some that bubble to the top are mental health, specifically around youth mental health. And so we're on the third year of a grant that we funded over $8 million to look at increasing access to care and those services for mental health, but also supporting the workforce. Another thing, and this is hot off the press, not many people know, I might get in trouble for spilling the beans first on the Washington Informer, but we are also working with the Greater Washington Community Foundation on a maternal health fund. The disparities, unfortunately, among Black and Brown women not only in the district, but across the nation, regardless of socioeconomic status. And so we have funding that will support maternal health, looking at increasing access, doula services, quality improvement initiatives, and more workforce. And then I'll just share recently, and it's not a secret, we just released $7.1 million to support diet-related chronic conditions, and specifically looking at food insecurity. 1 in 8 DC residents are food insecure, but then also combating diabetes, which we also know is an issue amongst the population. And so implementing food as medicine programs, but all while doing that by providing education, and not just food education, but culturally competent food education, so that we're not telling you to change your culture if rice is what you eat, or if we have soul food, during Thanksgiving. What are some of those things that you can do within your culture to make adjustments that will be long-term, and of course, increasing your overall health and well-being?
We know the incredible importance of culturally competent care, as well as culturally competent storytelling, being able to get these really important initiatives out to the community. So we'll be sure to keep up to date on those things, and please make sure we are aware of that.
Absolutely.
What do you see, Kimberly, as the world with some of these initiatives that you're trying to address? How do you envision a better district once these things are addressed and fully, I think, once people are able to fully tap into some of the programming you have?
Yeah, this, I think every year, you have your word of the year, and this year for work is doing good better. One of the organizations that I sit on the board for, that's what they say: how can we do good better? And that's what I would like for the district. I've worked in the district for most of my career. I like that I'm able to do work across the region, because now we can have thought leadership from Baltimore to DC, from Western Maryland to the Eastern Shore, to move the needle on some of these things that have been issues for our district residents for some time. And so what I would love to see us doing good better, but doing that by breaking down the silos, like having these partnerships as a criteria. And this is one of the things that we're doing with our grants, so that you're not doing this over here and you're doing this over here and doing this over here, while we know we can do better together, but doing good better together is what I would love to see, so that we can move the needle on some of these health outcomes that haven't changed over the course of time.
And how can the community do good better with you?
Well, there's a number of things. One of the things, and I think you shared this, and I'm glad that I'm here with you, and like I said, your energy, the storytelling around it, right? We have these investments. It's not the dollars. It's not the 7.1 million. It's not the 8, and that's nice. But how are we impacting people? How are we changing lives? And what is the story, behind that? And so a part of this is CareFirst is working with our partners across the region, and more specifically in DC, like the DC government. We had CareFirst Arena, which used to be the ESA arena. And that wasn't just our name on a scoreboard. That is, we are here in the community and you are our neighbors. Let's do this together. And so trying to help amplify organizations' missions that we work with every day, telling those stories, and then also making sure that people know what services are available behind those dollars, are really hardworking nonprofits and government workers that are doing good for the district. And people need to be connected to that. So I want to get better at telling the story, getting the word out there, amplifying these nonprofits, and doing it together. And you said one more thing, and I'll just add this. CareFirst, we volunteer across the district. Last year across the region, we had more than almost 90,000 hours for volunteerism. And that means we're either sitting on boards, or we're with Friends of Anacostia Park or Whitman Walker or Friends at Events DC out doing community work. Would love for residents to join us or just say hi when they see us out.
Awesome. Well, we are celebrating the work that you're doing in the community. As you said, being the CareFirst Arena is not just a name on a scoreboard, but really shows the impact of the work that you're doing. So tell folks how to keep in touch and up to date on all things CareFirst BlueCross BlueShield and the community initiatives that you have.
Yeah, please visit carefirst.com. We're also on Instagram, X, I keep calling it Twitter, but it's X, and also on LinkedIn, not only for what we're doing in the community, but ways that we can do it together.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Kimberly Harris, for your leadership and all that you're doing in the community and to serve the people of the Washington metropolitan area. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for having us.
Thank you. Oh, gosh, I am just fired up. It has been such a great day of hearing the wonderful work that's happening in the district and nationwide to prepare people physically, financially, in their housing. And y'all know that at the Washington Informer, we really highlight this next one, which is literacy. I am super, super excited as our last, but certainly not least guest, Cherly-Woodruff Brooks, who is an author of several books, but we'll be talking to her about her most recent piece, Chicken Bone Beach, a little bit about the history behind that, which has such a great rich history, and what she's been up to. Cheryl, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being with us today. First of all, I have to say that your artwork is so on theme.
What do you know?
I'm loving it. If we can all have Cheryl come and decorate our backgrounds, right, for when we have lives to be on theme. No, I really, really love it. Cheryl, first of all, tell us a little bit about your work as an author and how you were able to enter in that world of storytelling.
Sure. So I think inherently I've always been a writer, and this day was destined. But I got a publishing deal as a result of my thesis. I attended Penn State Harrisburg and got my Master's of Art in American Studies. I really wanted to focus on untold history, and particularly in the Black community. And while visiting an art gallery in Philadelphia one summer, while attending school, I saw these beautiful photos of Blacks on the beach, and they were smiling and gorgeous. And I just bought a few postcards, and that was it, really. But when I went back to school in the fall, the Eastern American Studies Conference was looking for presentations and calls of papers on history along the shores of New Jersey. And the light bulb just went off. And I decided to do a presentation and do the research behind the beach I saw in the photos. And since then, I have authored 5 books. My focus is nonfiction or history. And I've co-authored 2 other books with other writers on the same publishing arm as myself.
How inspirational. And I really appreciate that the first of all, factually based art that you were able to witness then inspired this really unearthing of beautiful stories. And thank you for making sure that these stories are told, Cheryl. So I just want to give you kudos for that.
It is truly an honor, to be quite honest.
So tell us a little bit more about the history of these African American places of recreation, leisure, enjoyment, and how that turned into the storytelling that you have today.
Certainly. So right away in doing my research, I began to speak to various people and learn so many interesting things. As we all, a lot of us know, during the Jim Crow era in America, Blacks were prohibited from the use of quite a few amenities within various cities, and Atlantic City was no exception to that. And so, what they did, along with uh, other states across the country, is to find their place or their space, either by purchasing beachfront property themselves, either by advocating to their local council people, state, to provide them with space. So, in the case of Chicken Bone Beach in Atlantic City, a letter went out to all the Black churches notifying them in a very polite manner that they were to recreate solely at Missouri Avenue Beach, which has been nicknamed Chicken Bone Beach. Um, it worked out in their case in their favor. It was the closest beach to the north side, which was the restricted community where Blacks could live. And what they did was turn that situation into their favor by creating their own line of businesses. Everything from credit unions to doctor offices were opened in the mid 1900s in Atlantic City by Blacks. They formulated their own trade. They listed their businesses in the Green Book, and particularly the East Coast, Washington, Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvanians all started to visit this quote unquote Chicken Bone Beach, a community where Blacks owned pretty much most of the businesses in their own community.
And tell us a little, first of all, that's just so incredibly fascinating. And the artwork around it and on all of your pieces are just so gorgeous and makes people want to dive in and read. Tell us a little bit about the shift that's happened and how people have been able to sort of keep some of that history alive, or Cheryl, are you the only one doing it? Because I know that's possible too.
No, there, as a part of my research in order to complete my thesis, I've taken a look at the literary work of various authors from around the country that have written about segregated beaches or Black beaches. And many are doing the same thing. In some cases, they are resurrecting that property or location. For example, Idlewild, they began having a film festival a few years ago in recognition of that recreational space. I've read that in New Orleans, where in that case, the city gave Blacks a section next to theirs. They are resurrecting and redeveloping that area, not necessarily as a designated Black area, but just sort of bringing the culture of it back to life. In particular, Chicken Bone Beach, there is a historical marker at Missouri Avenue Beach, and it happened while I was working on my thesis. So I think around 2014 or so, those efforts were made. And in particular, since I know such a great deal about their beach, there's also a nonprofit organization that was started by a woman who celebrates specifically the history of the music that developed within Chicken Bone Beach and the bars and the clubs that existed.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, with Black folks, there's so much rich history and ingenuity and enterprising. And so I just thank you and all the people who are ensuring that these stories are told and preserved, and really inspirational for those who would like to continue um, doing similar work in entrepreneurship and being inspired by the music and bars and culture. Tell us a little bit about how we can keep up to date on all of your books and tap in. And, you've done so much. Is there anything else that you might want to announce? Is there any other Cherly-Woodruff Brooks books coming out soon?
As we speak, I've been working on a larger body of work, looking now at a more macro analysis of all the Black beaches in the country. And so just stay tuned for that. In the meanwhile, you can keep on up with what's going on with me at CherylWBrooks.com. I participate in a great deal of events, in particularly in the summer, and I'd love to come to your city and be involved in book discussions and festivals and conferences, because I part of the joy I get from this is the ability to go out and speak to people directly, and quite frankly, hear their amazing stories too.
Yes. Well, we need to make that happen. All of our amazing Win TV Let's Talk viewers, make sure you get the word out. Go and support Cheryl and all that she's doing, and particularly in this time where um, teaching parts of Black history is under threat, and certain literature is now banned because of the honesty about what's happened here in America. And so I just want to uplift your work, Cheryl, and your bravery, and as we say at the Informer, your fearlessness. Um, and we'd love to have you back. And when you're in DC, let us know.
I most certainly will. Thanks once again for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate you.
Thanks.
Well, everybody, I cannot believe it's already been an hour. It has been such a fantastic Friday of Let's Talk. We've learned a lot. We've been inspired. We've been fired up. So as we draw in on today's conversation, I just can't help but reflect on really the trove of insights we've gathered. Thank you to Zerline, who talked to Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose about the vital role of home ownership, and particularly for single Black women and empowering single Black women. And we really thank President George Lambert of the Greater Washington Urban League, showing us really what it means for communities to come together, to take action, and to celebrate doing so, as they'll be doing on March 28th. I also would love to thank Kimberly Harris, who brought light to just the really wonderful work that CareFirst BlueCross BlueShield is doing in Washington, D.C. As she said, the new CareFirst Arena is not just a name on a scoreboard, but the work that they're doing in the community. And finally, Cherly-Woodruff Brooks, who brought it on home, talking about the amazing work that she's doing in preserving African American narratives, particularly about these Atlantic side beaches that African Americans were able to tap into. So, oh my goodness, it's been a great, inspiring, motivating show, but we got to wrap. There is still our Win 60 celebration. Next week, we will have our special edition. And if you all know me, you know that I am working hard on making sure we get that, and our entire team is making sure that we get that to you. We have some great stories coming your way, and it's a huge addition. So I have to go and start editing and getting stuff to our production team to make sure that everything is in for you all, so that you have the news that you can use, and in this case for our celebration to really commemorate, preserve, and highlight the wonderful work of the Washington Informer over the past 6 decades, and in the community. So we thank you all, as always, for tuning in to Let's Talk. We have a great episode next week that will be highlighting the 6 decades of the Washington Informer, and our special gala that is also on March 28th, the next Friday. And in the meantime, we will be delivering news that you can use 24/7 on WashingtonInformer.com, as well as on our social media platforms at Wash Informer, YouTube, Washington Informer TV, and LinkedIn, The Washington Informer. We thank you all as always. Have a fantastic Friday, wonderful weekend, and blessings to you all.